did it take, Emily? Oh, there we go. Okay.
There it is.
Yep, we're recording now. Great. Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm calling this meeting of the Public Safety Communications Task Force to order. It is 11:16 on January 15th, 2025, and I'm Barbara Neal. As a reminder, the meeting's being recorded, and that recording will be posted on the task force webpage following the meeting. Let's start with our usual roll call of task force members. If you could verbally acknowledge your presence when I call your name, that'd be great. We'll start with Jen Morrison.
I'm here.
Paul White.
I'm here.
Ron Kumitz.
I am here.
Morning. Jim Mack.
Here.
And Mike Dungis.
I am here.
Great. And I did have a message from Michael Wright that he's not able to join today. So also joining us, though, is Emily Mullaney as our administrative support and our project management partners, Rick and Dom from Televate. And we have from Mission Critical, let's see, we have Jason Malloy and Jason Malloy from Mission Critical. Morning, Jason. And then it looks like we possibly have two members of the public. Kim, we'll start with you if you'd like to introduce yourself and any affiliation you'd care to share.
Kim Cheney, interested member of the public.
Thanks for being here. And then we have someone with the phone number ending in 2247. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, it's Irene Runner. I couldn't get in through the Teams link, so I'm dialing in. Just here to listen. Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Okay. We are ready to move on to approval of the agenda, which was distributed to task force members by email. It's also available on the webpage. Do task force members have any proposed changes to the agenda? Okay, Dom?
I have a question. I believe we'll be talking about the schedule for review of the draft document. Do we want to do that under project updates or new business or a separate?
I'll have a little intro blurb during the project updates was my plan. And then if you're ready to, I made an assumption, I guess, that you would cover the schedule in your project update section. Okay. Okay,
Sounds
great.
Good.
All right. Anything else on the agenda? All right. We will consider the agenda approved then and move on to approval of the minutes. So these are the minutes from special meeting number 18, which occurred on January 8th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
I will make that motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Ron.
Seconded.
Thank you, Jim. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes from January 8th, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Ron. Jim, I see all task force members except Mike Dungis. I'm not sure if you're approving.
I said aye. I'm sorry if you didn't hear me.
Okay. All right. Good. Then the minutes are approved. Okay. We are on to public comment. Kim Cheney, do you have anything to share with us today? You're muted, Kim.
Yeah. I'm anxious to see a draft report. Without it, it's impossible to have any substantive comments. And I've been absent here, partly a medical issue the other day, but I'm told there was some debate about it being made public, but I don't know what the result of all that was. So I hope I'll hear about that today.
Okay. Well, the draft report right now is not has not been delivered to the task force. It is something task force members have access to, and we're expecting a a final draft for public review and comment. Dom will have the exact date, but at some point in February.
I just want to correct that. It's not a final draft that will be released. It's a second draft designed for public feedback, stakeholder input, legislative input, and then MCP will incorporate all of that feedback into a final draft to be delivered later, much later.
Perfect. Yes, good.
Weeks later, at least.
Yes, thank you for that clarification, Jen. You're absolutely right. Okay, Senator Renner, do you have any comments this morning?
Not at this time. I too am looking forward to seeing the draft. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we're moving on then to project updates. And as I mentioned a minute ago, before I pass this over to Dom, I want to update the task force members on our approach to the draft system planning report review. So task force members should be using the link provided by Mission Critical to access the document for review. And we have asked Dom and or Rick to reach out to each of you to set up a time to discuss your feedback on the report sections individually. So that is the approach we're going to take at this point. And Dom, you can outline some of the additional changes to the timeline that we've discussed, and I'll hand it off to you now.
Okay, thank you, Barb. Regarding first overall project status, the primary activities that we have been working on recently have been the continuation of the inventory and assessment report that has reached the second draft level and the level at which we have distributed it to each of the 37 dispatch centers, communication centers. They have received the introductory portion as well as their individual summary of their particular facility. So that has been done to get a confirmation from each of those that what we have recorded and documented is accurate and complete. There are some areas there where we're hoping to get updates from some of the centers. So that is in process. Those were distributed Friday with a 2-week turnaround period. So we hope to see responses, and I know we've seen at least one so far. We hope to see responses by that puts us the 24th of this month. And
So
as
far,
we
Don,
discussed,
I'm
so
sorry.
far
We do have several agencies that have responded.
Okay, great. Excellent.
They didn't do a reply all. So I do have comments from a few agencies, and those are being incorporated as they come in.
Great. Appreciate it. And we did say that after a week we would send out a reminder. So that would be this Friday, the 17th, would be time to send out a reminder when we are looking to receive feedback. And of course, the other major activity that we have ongoing is the draft of the system planning report, which was established by MCP also on Friday last week, and links were distributed to the task force members. So all task force members as well as Televate has access to the draft report. And as Barb mentioned, we have been developing a review schedule for that. We previously had intended on a short turnaround for a review. We have updated that. We want to make sure there is sufficient time for task force members to review the document. So we have established several weeks for that period. And as Barb mentioned, we will be reaching out to each task force member individually to determine their preferred schedule for a review and discussion of the document. We want to capture comments from each task force member, and Televate will then be consolidating those comments and sending them to MCP. We have committed with the schedule to have a complete set of comments back to MCP on February 7th. So 2/7, that gives us 3+ weeks for review. So as I mentioned, we'll be reaching out to each of the task force members to kind of put together a schedule for that. And we can be flexible in terms of how each of you would like to do that. It might be somewhat cumbersome to review the entire document in one session. So likely we'll have several, or at least a couple of sessions with each task force member, potentially do half the document in one session, half in another. That will be up to what your schedule allows and when you are available for discussion. So offline, we'll be having further discussion with each of you as to the best schedule for that. Further, beyond receiving all the comments on 2/7, MCP, we're requesting a revised draft, which would be the draft intended for public comment by the 19th of February, so 2/19. That will then start a lengthy public review session and comment period, a legislative review in parallel. We have that scheduled for the 20th of February through March 21st. So essentially a month to do that. In that time frame, we will also be scheduling regional sessions, essentially listening sessions similar to the town hall sessions that we had earlier in the project, so that we can give us another forum to receive feedback. We want to provide multiple opportunities for feedback from legislators as well as the public, and those are some of the venues and opportunities that they'll have. The closing of that period again, right, is planned for the 21st of March, and then following a 2-week update session, MCP will be producing the final draft in early April. Also within that, over the next few weeks, possibly within the public legislative review session, we want to schedule a finance and funding workshop to get feedback from appropriate legislators on potential options for funding the activities that are called out in the draft and will be documented in the report. I think that captures pretty much most of the activity we have ongoing. It's a busy time frame, and we're grateful to have the report and looking forward to giving it a thorough review.
Yes, and as I recalled, we were going to also create like a mechanism for feedback via our website or via probably through email, but access through the website so people could see the report and submit comments that way as well. I
Yes,
believe we discussed that.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Don, may I add a few comments to what you just said?
Please do.
So for the task force, we certainly encourage you to complete, as you're doing your review, to complete the stakeholder review worksheet.
Right.
That'll allow us to guide the conversation, and that'll also allow you to capture your individual comments regarding the report. And so that'll kind of drive our discussion. And in terms of your availability, I mean, we've got 3 weeks. We really don't want to wait until the last day. So, we also would like to provide feedback on certain sections when available prior to the final, if we can. And if we need to have, there's still some meetings ongoing where we could have collaboration and discussions with MCP and internal. But we certainly don't want to wait till the end. So when Dom recommended, when Dom and I discussed this earlier before the meeting, if you look at is there a natural break in the report? And the first three sections take up 93 pages. So we were thinking that perhaps we could do up to, for the first session, up through section 3.3. If you that SPRIAT is called Technology and Shared Systems Based Regionalization. So that might be a good break. Well, if you're available and you can get through that half of the document, then we could schedule a meeting. But we could be flexible if you want to meet more than once, more than twice, multiple times, or if you read something and you'd like to discuss it real time, just let us know. But we want to give you a forum where we can, not only gather your comments, but have a discussion with you, about your feedback. If you haven't yet read the document, it's very thorough and it's very dense, and so it isn't a simple read. You're gonna, you're gonna react to it, and so far, I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, but it's extremely informative, and the way that the storyline is told and the recommendations are made, it builds upon it in each of the sections. So you're going to enjoy it, and we look forward to working with you. So let us know your thoughts on whether or not a two-stage meeting, going through half of the document and then the second half, or whether or not you want to do it all, or whether you want to meet 3 or 4 times. Just let us know your thoughts on it.
I have a question. I think it might be for Mission Critical. How is there a cadence of feedback that would work best for you?
So, since we have multiple subject matter experts that worked on each of the individual sections, if Televate wants to provide that as it comes in, we can certainly do that. If Televate wants to maintain a master stakeholder review worksheet and then send it at the end so that we don't miss anything, we can certainly be accommodating for that. Or, if it works better that Televate keeps the master review worksheet and sends it all at one time, that certainly would cut down on our time that we have to make the changes. But if that's what works better for the group, we can certainly do that. We can accommodate the state in that manner. One thing that I did want to ask for Dom and Rick, was there an intent to have representation from MCP on those review meetings with the task force? That way, if we have any questions on the comments coming from each task force member, we can ask directly with that person during that meeting versus having to email back and forth after the comment period begins. What was the intention there? Or had you considered that at this point?
At this point, the intention had been primarily for Televate to meet with the task force members individually, and then compile their feedback. So understand there may be a little bit of back and forth, but we can certainly accommodate that as best we can.
Sure. If I could just make a request then, as you're compiling the that master stakeholder review worksheet, if you can just indicate which comment comes from which person, even if you just want to, at the beginning of that review worksheet, just say, reviewer one is this person, reviewer two is that person. That way it makes it a little bit easier when we have questions on a comment, we can refer directly to that person, to that comment, and that might speed up some of that review process.
So Jason, we may have multiple people having similar comments. So, you know, if
Sure.
we take that effort, you know, you could see all task force members having a comment on a particular section. So, you know, I appreciate what you're asking for. We may not be able to do it specifically because it could be multiple people. And if that's the case, we might, you know, just say, you know, group response or something to that
Yeah,
effect.
and that's fine.
Yeah, we might
Yeah,
have a
that's
consolidated
fine if
comment. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's
Yeah.
multiple people that have a question or a comment or a concern about a specific piece of the report, yeah, if you want to just write it as a group response or multiple responses or however you want to indicate that, that's fine. It's just the one-off comments that we were more concerned with as far as knowing who to direct our comments to or who to direct our questions to for clarification. You know, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, just for your edification, I mean, the final comments have been discussed, you know, internally before we turn them over to some extent. So we, you know, that while they may represent an individual response, you know, they kind of are collective in nature. So, you know, we can identify it, but it may not be a response to an individual per se, because the group has agreed that those questions are probably are relevant.
Sure.
Well, I'd also like to say that we anticipate that there may be needs along the way for us to have a conversation with MCP about a particular comment or a particular recommendation. As an example, you know, I mean, I think the document requires an executive summary. I mean, we've got an introduction, but it's not, you know, an executive summary. We're handing this over to the legislature, and they're going to, you know, their ability to read a 100-page document or refer back to the inventory report is going to be, you know, it's going to be based on individuals' interest and time frame. So, you know, an executive summary in this document seems to make sense where we frame it out, and you know, comments like that, you know, you're going to see. So,
Sure. Well, and just for your knowledge, Rick, the process that we normally follow when we have an initial draft like this, we typically do not put the executive summary in there just because if we get back comments that substantially change a section, for example, if we say option A is the best case scenario, and then the group comments say, no, we don't like option A, it's a non-starter, then we have to go back and completely not only change that section, but then we have to rewrite part of the executive summary. So we like to write that executive summary after a substantial amount of comments have come in, understanding that there may be one or two comments here and there that require the executive summary to be changed. But that allows us to focus our efforts on updating the document and only having to write that executive summary one time. So yeah, before it goes to the legislature and before it goes to public comment, it'll have that executive summary. But just during that initial task force review period, that executive summary is not there.
All right, I appreciate that clarification. Yes, writing the executive summary is the last task on writing the report like this is pretty common. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that.
Whoops. Did Rick freeze?
2 pages for a
you
know, legislative
He's
member
back.
to be able to understand. All right, thank you.
Okay, great. So, is it fair to say, Dom and Rick, that you will be in touch with individual task force members like by the end of the week to schedule a time? And
Yes.
I mean, I think that the goal here is to allow sufficient time for a thorough and effective review and to make sure that each individual task force member gets their feedback to the vendors through this process. So, so there we go. All right. Anything else Well, let me start with Jason. Do you have anything to add as far as updates for the project update, or are you good?
Not necessarily an addition, but just a question of clarification for the task force. As far as the individual inventory reports, the reports that have gone out to the individual agencies, once we reach the end of that comment period next Friday, and we have the overall inventory document updated, is the intent to just simply have still the one large document for public consumption and the individual agencies can look at that? Or is the intent that we will provide a smaller final copy to each agency in addition to the larger whole document?
No, the only reason they got the chunked piece was for them to be able to fact check their section
Okay.
before we incorporate it into a final draft.
Okay.
So, and be clear that once the inventory report is done and you have transmitted it to us, then it's going to be redacted before it goes anywhere.
And that's what we understood to be the process. We just wanted to make sure before we went down that path and then had to come back and do additional work to create
No.
those separate reports. So that's fine.
No, we just can't have so many versions of
Yeah.
a report out there in the ecosystem. It gets confusing. And then people
Understood.
get bad information if there's conflicting or changed and evolved information. So that's the whole purpose of waiting to transmit until we have something designed for public consumption so that we can keep the number of drafts floating around to a minimum.
Understood. Thank you. We just wanted that clarification to know if we needed to make arrangements on our end to create those additional reports. So thank you. Other than that, I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, questions? Any other questions from task force members for Televate or Mission Critical on the project status? Okie doke. We will move on then to the next agenda item, which is executive session if needed. I don't believe there is any need for an executive session today. Any comments? Anybody disagree? Okay. Moving on then to new business. Do any task force members have new business for today? Jen?
I feel like we're 4 weeks away from, I don't feel like, I know that we are 4 weeks away from a draft designed for public feedback. We should identify dates for the regional town halls and make assignments for, who's going to set those up, who's going to be in charge of setting up the virtual public listening sessions. Obviously, I'm going to be responsible for having a fillable feedback form created on our website, and any publicizing that we do of these town halls and listening sessions should include a link to our website. So I'm happy to take care of the initial planning for schedule for regional town halls. I will try to get a helper from my staff. Does anyone have a week that, is there a week in there that people think is the right time? I would assume that we want to do that, hear from stakeholders in the field, the people impacted by this before we do the broader listening sessions. So in my mind, we're looking at the week of February. If it goes out to the public on the 19th, we're looking at like that week of the break. I don't know if that's possible or not because it's the legislative break. I don't know if people are planning to be traveling. Should we look at the week of March 10th? That gives people 2.5 weeks to read the stuff, 2.5 weeks, and then start doing the town halls, the regional town halls, the week of March 10th, understanding that we have to get all our feedback back to MCP by a certain date too. So we're sort of hemmed in at the distribution date and the date at which we have to provide feedback. Long way of saying we need to plan. Do we want to assign a small subcommittee, Barb, from the 7 of us to work on that? And then
Well,
I can get some
actually, I thought
administrative
we could,
support.
I thought we could hammer out these details when we meet with Rick and Dom. When is our next meeting with you, Rick and Dom?
It would be next Thursday is what's currently on
Oh.
the calendar.
Okay,
We could schedule one this Thursday certainly, but right
No,
now
I'm
it's
not,
on
I'm not
normal
available
schedule.
tomorrow. Tomorrow's
Okay.
no good. Anyway, I'm putting that out there. It doesn't have to be decided today, but I feel like we can't keep waiting another week to either identify who's going to work on setting these up and start identifying dates, etc.
Well,
I can run
why
with it,
why
but
don't
I
we try and
don't want to do
hammer
it in
it
a
out
vacuum.
no, I think we can work it out with Rick and Dom next week would be, does that feel like sufficient time, Jen?
I can just
Okay.
start prepping my team. Yep.
That's the 23rd, I
23rd.
believe. Yeah, that's our
Yeah.
next schedule.
Okay, and yeah, we'll be thinking about all the things that you've just listed off, Jen, and how we're gonna get those done.
Jen,
the-
question, the legislative break is when? I want to make sure I have that accurate.
They
it-
would, when they adjourn on Friday, February 28th, the following week they have off and they don't come back
Okay.
until the Tuesday, March 11th.
11.
11,
Oh,
okay.
Well, that might not, wait, I'm in the wrong calendar.
Probably Wednesday. Would it be Wednesday they come back? Do they take town meeting?
No,
day
they come in on Tuesday. It's
Okay.
Mondays they have
yeah.
off.
Tuesday, the 11th,
All
right?
Right.
Town meeting days, Tuesday
Town
the
meeting's
4th.
town meeting's the 4th. You're right.
Yes, town meeting's the 4th.
So just
Is there a reason we can't have any of the regional town halls during that period, during the break period?
I think we could.
We might be able to. It is not uncommon for some folks to take town meeting day, week, or portions of that week off because town meeting day is a holiday.
Okay.
So it's also in Vermont, that last week of February through Tuesday the 4th is school break for many Vermont schools. So it's frequently a time when parents take their winter vacation. So I'm just saying that because if we're expecting firefighters, police, EMS to attend, but it's in the middle of the school break, they might all be in Florida if they have any sense.
So I think these are all good considerations and we can work through them because we're gonna have multiple opportunities to meet with folks. But yes, let's plan to hammer it out when we meet with Rick and Dom next Thursday.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
I see Jason has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Jason, go ahead.
not a problem. Is the intent for Bonnie to lead those sessions as we did with the initial regional town halls?
I mean, somebody needs to facilitate them. I'm not sure it has to be Bonnie for all of them.
Do we want to have that discussion then on our Monday meeting instead of next Thursday with just, that way we can look at our schedules as well and make sure that those are accommodated?
Sure.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
that was all.
Well,
All right.
a reminder, this coming Monday is a state holiday.
Right.
I
Right. But
don't
we
know
had
if that's gonna
discussed
work.
that Jen, I don't know if we heard from you, but I'm available. I believe Paul said he was available on the 20th.
On January, let me see. I believe I can be available. Sure, yes, at 11 o'clock.
At
Sure.
11.
11, yes.
Yeah, and that's not a holiday for MCP, so we'll certainly be available.
Okay. Let's discuss then.
Very good.
Okay.
All right. Any other new business for today? All right, next item is confirm the next meeting date and adjourn. So the next meeting date is already on the books for January 29th. If there's nothing further, is there a motion to adjourn?
But just a second now.
Yep.
Maybe it was changed in the most recent timeline, but in one of Dom's emails, he had mentioned having a special meeting on the 22nd. That's no longer being considered.
Right, I think we'll
That's it.
replace, yeah, we'll have the
Because we're doing the one-on-one meetings. with task
individual
force
with the
members,
vendors. Yep, yep,
there's no longer need to meet the 22nd. That's okay.
right.
Thank you.
So we're on back to our regular schedule, meeting on January 29th, at the regular time. Anything else? Okay, I'll ask again. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Great. Thank you. All right, all in favor of adjourning, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye. I see Ron's hand is up. All righty.
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Wait
Thank
for
you
your
all.
calls from Televate and we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.